Hey guys, welcome to my garage. So today I have an interesting one for you, and if you have a Volvo like this, you may want to stick around because I think I found an issue that affects all of them. So let me show you what it is. So the other day I was looking at this framing and this mirror, and it felt like, this is sticking out way too much. So I decided I'm going to remove the mirror. Now, before I started to film the video, I already tried to remove the mirror, but I broke 2 out of the 3 screws that are holding it. The screws were essentially caked into the mirror frame and there was no way to remove them. Now, before breaking the 3rd screw, I wanted to drill out the broken screws, but this turned out to be way more complicated than it sounds. I broke some drill bits and I didn't drill the hole perfectly straight, so cutting a new thread was not realistic at this point. Anyway, at this point the mirror was held in just by 1 screw, so I knew I have to do something with it and I can't leave it like this. In order to get to the last screw, I had to remove the door lining. I tried to remove the 3rd screw as carefully as I could, but I ended up breaking that one as well. When I saw what is behind the mirror, I couldn't believe my eyes. There is this acoustic foam pad which is between the mirror frame and the door frame, and because it is completely wet, it corroded away the mirror frame and also the door frame. This is, in my view, unbelievably stupid design. Why would someone put a foam in place like this where it can get wet and then it has no way to dry? The mirror frame is completely corroded and is beyond repair. But also the door frame is showing a corrosion underneath the paint. Anyway, I started to disassemble the mirror, but also in the meanwhile I checked on Marketplace and other local parts resellers, and the used replacement mirror was ranging from 30 to 500 euros. Of course, the one I needed was the most expensive one, as my mirror has all the options and a side camera. I obviously didn't want to spend 500 euros on a stupid mirror, because that's 10% of the car's value at this point. I was looking at the used mirrors on the internet and the cheapest I could find for driver's side was about 60 euro. That was the simplest mirror with no folding function or camera or anything. I took a gamble and ordered it, and I was hoping that the aluminum frame will be the same, so I can hopefully use that frame to replace my corroded one. As I was disassembling the mirror, I didn't know really what I was doing, so I just tried to remove anything I could, not necessarily in correct order. I knew I will need to somehow disassemble this main joint, and it seemed like there is a steel piece that is just rotated in place. So I tried to unscrew it using various pliers, but that didn't work. So I continued to disassemble everything I could, which was a lot more difficult than it should be, because at this point I should have separated the main joint first. Anyway, once I removed as much components as I could, I was left with the aluminum frame and the folding motor still attached. I held the frame into the vise and used a screwdriver and a hammer to turn that folding motor mount. Thankfully, it worked. I was finally able to separate everything. Now I simply cleaned up the motor and bent back a bit of these steel flanges which hold onto the aluminum frame. At this point the mirror was fully disassembled, and now here is the replacement mirror that I ordered. Of course, I had to disassemble that mirror as well, and this one had a different main joint mounting. So first I got scared that this is not going to fit, but then I realized that only the upper part is different. And this is held in with a spring, and to remove it you need to push this upper part and rotate at the same time. So again, I removed as much as I could at this point. Interestingly, the main motor was completely different. I assume this one didn't have a memory function either. Now I'm going to use this 27mm socket to push the spring and rotate that upper part of the mirror to release it. To my surprise, this was easier than I anticipated. I then removed the aluminium frame from the plastic cover, and while it is not in very good condition, looking at my original frame, that one is completely gone. I decided I'm going to clean up this replacement frame and paint it. Of course, it's not going to be like new, but this should give it a couple more years. I think it was worth 20 minutes of work. What do you think? For the reassembly, I was going to use the replacement outer plastic cover, mainly because my original one had a broken tab, which was actually the reason why it wasn't sitting properly in the door frame. Now I will be showing you the correct step-by-step procedure to reinstall this frame. Trust me, I did this multiple times and I often realized I should have reinstalled some different parts sooner. As a first step, I install this rubber seal and then simply click the bottom plastic cover onto the frame. Then the motor with the wiring needs to go back to this upper plastic frame, then reinstall both screws holding the motor. Next step is to route all the cables where they need to go. Then this main outer cover slides and clicks into the plastic frame. Now the bottom part cover can be clicked into place. Now you can install the temperature sensor and also the puddle light. Connect all the wires to the mirror motor and click it back to place and reinstall the middle screw. Now the main joint can be reassembled, but first you need to thread the wires through the aluminium frame. This is a bit tricky because the rubber seal needs to be squeezed to get it through. Once all the cables are through, joining the two parts is actually rather simple. Just line up the parts, push them together, and once you rotate them, it snaps into place. Now reinstall the indicator light bar. Well, I managed to break mine. Thankfully, the replacement mirror had the same part, so this time I was a bit more careful. Tuck away the wires into the frame where they need to be and then reinstall the camera. As a next step, I'm trying to put back the camera cover, but somehow it doesn't want to fit. Something is definitely wrong as the plastics are not lining up. Now when I try to fit the camera cover back to the original plastic, it fits perfectly and lines up. The blank cover, however, doesn't fit. That means that the plastic cover is different for the camera and the non-camera version. Anyway, I had to take a break from that mirror because I almost smashed it at this point, so I'm going to take care of the rust on the door frame. I used the wire wheel to remove as much rust as I could. and it was a difficult place, so I couldn't reach everything for 100%, but I cleaned it as good as I could. Then I used the rust converter to cover everything I could. Of course, this is not the best repair and it could be done a lot better, but this should still be better than it was and should hold for a couple more years. Once I taped up everything, I sprayed it with primer, which I forgot to film, and while it was drying, I reinstalled the original plastic cover to the new frame. As I mentioned, there were two broken tabs on this plastic cover, so I just used epoxy glue to hold this properly to the frame. Now reinstalling everything back again is a bit easier now, because I already knew what I'm doing. After installing the camera, this time the bottom cover fits correctly. Now I'm reconnecting the mirror heating wires and aligning these white guide rails and snapping back the mirror. As a last step, the top cover snaps back correctly as well. The silver frame around the camera fell off. It seems it had a broken tab and it was glued on previously, so I just used some epoxy glue to hold it back in place. Now I don't have the correct car color paint, so I just used some black paint here. It doesn't matter really because it's not visible and it is just there to provide protection against further rust. I think it looks rather fine. Again, I think this phone pad is a very bad design, but I still need to put it back, otherwise I can imagine there would be a lot of road noise coming from the mirror. Now I'm reinstalling the mirror, and the difficult part here is to pull out the rubber seal through that hole. Then I just reconnect the cables and install brand new screws. Hopefully these will not get stuck anytime soon. As a last step, I reinstall the door panel and reconnect the small speaker with the bliss LED indicator light.
Okay guys, so this is now fixed, but I can tell you I regret even touching that mirror at all. So if you happen to have any issue with your mirror, I can only suggest you just replace it as a one-to-one piece, because taking it apart is quite a big pain. Now if you are already trying to fix your mirror and you took it apart, good luck fixing it. I hope this video helps you a little bit, and thank you for watching. See you in the next one.